himself, Jallo Sane, Sam Silla, and many others, while other politicians like MC Chairman O.J. Jallo were in custody at the Bakau barracks. They came together and thought of putting together the idea, working on an idea to form a party, and that party became the United Democratic Party, and I was privileged and honored to be chosen to lead that party. For me, I saw it as a burden of hope and a burden of trust. A burden of hope that I could help or lead the Gambia from where it was to a better place, and trust that certainly if we do, I will live up to the expectations. I want to try as much as possible not to shatter that hope and also not to betray the trust in me. But I am particularly happy that the Senegambia Association exists here, because back home we say Senegal and Gambia are one people, one nation, but they're divided by colonial rulers. You can hardly go to any part of Senegal, whether southern Senegal or northern Senegal, where you won't find your own nation there. So I said that either if you go to northern Senegal, you'll find our relations in Darboe. If you go to northern Senegal, you'll find my relations there. In southern Senegal, also in Bakau and all those places. So we are one people. So to have such an association here is really giving credence and credibility to the fact that Gambia and Senegal are one people, and we must coexist harmoniously. We must protect each other's interests. We must be each other's keepers. That Gambia and Senegal cannot be seen to be competing, but they must complement each other's efforts, without, of course, any one state being subservient to other state. So we congratulate you, Mr. Fowlis, for leading this organization, and it also shows the enormity of the confidence that the people who are part of this organization, they have in you. And I'm sure you will live up to expectations. You did tell me that you are not the first president, you are previous presidents, but as we always say, you will do something to break their own records to show that you are a better president than they have been, and I'm sure you can do that. Now, for us in the United Democratic Party, we believe that integration of the African continent is a must. When it will happen is another thing. We believe that such efforts could start very well in West Africa, and it has started in West Africa through the creation of ECOWAS. But we also believe that it could even be better done between Gambia and Senegal. And we do not have to wait for the politicians. The people-to-people diplomacy, I think, is the greatest thing that countries can do, particularly African countries. Gambia, you go to any Gambian home, you either find that they are the heads of their religious sects are either in Tiwawan, in Kaula, in Tuba, in Jasan, or in Makakulibanta, in Gambia. So that is one way that we really can cement relationship between the Gambia and Senegal. When the politicians are arguing about other things there, the people themselves can get together and really do for the people of the Senegambia what ought to be done for them. And of course, when people take leads in anything, their political leaders who are sensible will really learn from them, or at least take cue from them and do what is needful. So, you members of the Senegambia Association in Alaska and Anchorage here, I encourage you to think Senegambian. Of course, that does not mean that Senegalese cannot think independently on issues of Senegal, or Gambians cannot think independently on issues that are Gambian. But in the whole, we can get together and think more Senegambian. And I believe that is one of the reasons maybe we have in the heart of Gambia, in the middle of the Gambia, a bridge called Senegambia Bridge. Otherwise, it could have been given some other name, but to give credence to the idea of the commonality of interest between the Gambia and Senegal, so the bridge is named Senegambia Bridge. And our compatriots or friends from Ghana, I say Akuaba here, and I'm sure your presence here is also indicative of how much Africans really are willing to come together, share the same platform with us, share same ideas, and really do what is in the best interest of the African community in any particular place. So we're happy that you are here, brothers and sisters from Ghana, Sudan, and Chad. And I hope that the other members of the African community in Anchorage here will be able to come together and establish or create a bigger society that goes beyond Senegambia, but it will be the African community of Anchorage, and I hope that that will happen, and then you can look after the welfare of each other. I know each and every one of you are independent, but then when it comes to certain issues, communal assistance, communal cooperation can really mean a lot. So I want to thank all of you who are here, and I also want to thank all those who have really made this gathering possible. I know it was a very short notice, but then your enthusiasm, your belief in making things work and making things successful has really led to this. And your association, we want to thank you, all of you. We want to thank all of you for that. Now, as I said, I was on a family visit, but it has been turned into a coincide political event. And of course, as a leader of the party, we have what I will call programs. A program that can conveniently be called a rescue and revival program for the Gambia. Because when a nation is about to sink, you certainly have to rescue it. When a nation is about to drown, like when a man falls into the river, and once you can start drinking water, that is very rescue the person. What do? You put him on his back, you know. I mean, press the bed. I think the doctors are here, which could probably attest to that. Press the stomach so that wherever water will come out, and you rescue and revive the individual. And that is what United Democratic Party really should be done for the Gambia. Should be one of rescue and one of revival. Rescue from what? Rescue the country from some of the greatest social maladies. And one of them is really corruption. No country can advance, no country can progress without really bringing corruption to its minimum level. as they say, man is by nature corrupt, so you cannot completely eliminate corruption. What you certainly can do and take steps that can minimize corruption so that investors would have the confidence to come into the country. When you talk of difficulty in doing businesses in any particular country, it is because of corruption that makes it difficult. We have all the laws that cater for easy business in the country, all the laws. But when implementation is hampered and hindered, and some people whose only desire is use their office to make benefit for themselves, then it slows down the activities and it certainly creates difficulties. So that is one thing that we believe should be done to really revive the Gambia. Having rescued it from Yame, we now should be on a program to revive it. And that revival program, we cannot allow it to be retarded by anybody. And when I say by anybody, that includes me. Because sometimes you may find corrupt practice even in opposition. It doesn't necessarily mean in government, but you can even find it in opposition. In opposition, how, when they connive with all those in authorities and do what is really, negative, and is quite negative to the society. Connive with the authorities in what way? By giving a blind eye to what is being done and not speaking up when you should speak up, not taking action when you should take action. Then you are conniving with those who are complicit in corrupt practices, and you yourself become corrupt. And there would be no reason why you could be substituted for the corrupt government that is there. Sometimes we say, was it worth the while really getting rid of Jammeh? Was it worth the while? As situation improved since we got rid of Jammeh. In ways, situation has improved because nobody is made disappeared. Yes, so far, nobody is made disappeared. But then, all the draconian laws are there for use by the authorities that are in control of powers. We've seen how people who really appear on programs, on radio shows, and we've seen how some of them have been treated, arrested, taken to unknown places, and then by 10 o'clock at night, taken out and dumped into muddy waters. We have seen that happen. So that is a near return. We have seen that on a Thursday evening or Friday morning, one is arrested and taken to the police because you know that Saturday, no offices will open. Sunday, no offices will open. So that you keep the person incarcerated without any due process. We have seen where judges have been asked to really extend the detention, the illegal detention of arrestees, when in fact judges should be standing up to protect the rights and liberties of our citizens. But this has happened. So it's getting to be a situation of near return. And this is what we really must prevent. And this we can only prevent by really all of us coming together. Our primary objective from 1996 was that Gambians should have the constitution they deserve. And for the past 22 years, a lot of people, politicians, some are alive, others have transited, have fought, have suffered, have been tortured, have been incarcerated, have been imprisoned, have been tortured, have been beaten to the extent of being of dying. this is what they thought, that we want a new constitution for the Gambia, and we had the opportunity of giving the Gambia a new constitution. But 3 or 4 years into the establishment of a new government, that hope was dashed away when all of us knew that those who do not really want presidential powers to be curbed, those who really do not want accountability, those who really do not want, wasteful spending, those who do not want that, they were blocked. And those who wanted to continue with what was happening under the German era, all voted against that constitution. To the surprise, disappointment of genuine Gambians, meaningful Gambians who really want something good for their country. The efforts are on. But those efforts also although being on, yet what the executive is doing is really presenting a document that does not reflect the wishes and aspirations of the Gambian people. It is a document that tends to give more power to the president. A document that, a document that really protects the president from being, not only the president and his ministers, from accountability. Can you imagine? I take office as a minister or whatever, and I am by law directed to make a declaration of all my assets. I do, and probably at the time that I'm taking office, I just have one property, and its value is certainly not one that is very high. It's of no high economic value. I'm in office 3-4 years. I start amassing wealth. My bank balance at the day I take appointment was probably $2,500. But on the day I'm leaving office, my bank balance is $750,000. And yet, I'm told that I cannot give declaration of my assets so that I can be held accountable. How have I made that money within the short period that I have come in town? We do not think that the constitution that the Gambian people deserve. We believe that the constitution that the Gambian people deserve, that everybody must be made accountable. You make National Assembly members accountable, but you don't want to have the executive accountable. You want to have the judiciary accountable, but you don't want to have the executive accountable. And we know that people who are likely to be to yield to corruption, to yield to bribery, people who are prone to be corrupted, are those in the executive, the politicians that are in the executive. After all, the judges, their character must have been men of high integrity. Who really examine a politician as well as integrity? What the judges they do, how much, how in the first place, how knowledgeable they are, and secondly, whether they are men of integrity. Maybe in the West, maybe in the United States and other places, politicians' integrity is always investigate and interrogate, but that does not happen. How do you put absolute authority and power in the hands of the president to dismiss law enforcement officers? Maybe law enforcement officers who may not want to really do things in the way that the executive wants. These are some of the issues that the current document that the Gambian people are discussing. This is what they have. The whole chapter on integrity. The whole chapter on integrity is deleted from the Constitution. How do you want to build a society free of corruption? How do you want to build a society managed by men of integrity, if the constitutional provisions that direct them to really exhibit, modicum of integrity, decency, and so forth, you did it from the Constitution, you do not have any. You do not have any recourse. These are our problems, and I think it's a problem that every genuine Gambian should be concerned about. It should not be considered as a disagreement of one against an individual. The Constitution is supposed to be the organic law, and it's supposed to be here for quite a long time, so that it is not the president today that we are talking about, it is whoever may be president, whether now or in the future. You do not want to put people in a position where they can abuse power. They may have some who are conscientious, you may have some individuals who are selfless, but then there's no guarantee that everyone will be conscientious, everyone will be selfless, everyone will be protective of the resources, of the legal resources of our country. And one issue that concerns the United Democratic Party is this of the diaspora voting. As conservatively, 23% of Gambia's GDP comes from remittances. How can you have such a huge chunk of the GDP coming from the diaspora, yet not having a say in who should be the president, or at least who should be the president of their country? We think that this should happen. We've been advocating for that since when Bishop Telewa Johnson was the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. We've also been advocating that there should be some funding for political parties, and indeed Bishop Telewa Johnson came out with a program which we describe as the Democracy Fund, so that the government, the ruling party, which is always advantaged by having access to resources at all corners from everywhere, so that they cannot have over advantage against the other political parties. But again, that was also killed by the government. And the diaspora voting, indeed, for us, is a must. And we are asking the people in the diaspora to join us back home, to really demand that the people in the diaspora have a right to determine who their president is. And that right should not be taken away from them, because you might feel that you do not have sufficient support in the diaspora. But the sufficiency of your support, of any political party's support, I think depends how much your outreach activities, how extensive and how vigorous your outreach activities are. If they are extensive and vigorous, you will certainly in the diaspora as well as back home. One thing we found unacceptable, and I'm glad to say that the IEC agrees with UDP on that, the issue of attestations. I cannot imagine how a chief can be authorized to issue attestations to people in his district. Some chiefs do not even know every individual in their own village, much more to talk of an individual, of all individuals in the district. No chief can do that. Certainly, the Alcalde of Bansan does not know everyone in Bansan, much more to talk of the chief who lives about 10-15 kilometers away from Bansan to know that particular individuals are born in Bansan or not. So it is one that abuses our electoral system, is one that discredits our electoral system, because it is open to abuse. People who are otherwise not entitled to register, they use it as a means to register, and that was in fact the case. If it was instituted by the military regime, or the quasi-military regime. The old rule that every claimant for a voter's card has to be interviewed by the registered officer to be satisfied that the claimant is entitled, that one, has attained the age, two, has lived within the constituency for a specified period, three, is a Gambian. But that was taken away by the quasi-military regime. He said, whenever you produce a national ID card, a national document, whether passport or a national identity card or an attestation, the registered officer has no duty to interrogate you. It must issue you the voter's card. So that's allowed people who are otherwise not eligible to register as voters, it allows them all to be registered, and that really has affected the integrity of the Gambia's elections and the Gambia's electoral system. But the IEC is in line with UDP that certainly you cannot have attestations as one of the qualifications for one to be registered as a voter. There is a counter argument that you may tend to disenfranchise others. Yes, there's a possibility to disenfranchise, but if there is, it is very this is very negligible. Because I cannot imagine someone who is 35 years old, born in the Gambia, and not being in possession of a national ID card. I cannot imagine that. Or I cannot imagine those who are even 25 years old not having something to really prove that they are Gambians. A lot of young people today have birth certificates. So why do you have to resort to attestations when you have other means of proof of one's eligibility to the voters? But we believe that these issues that must be properly handled before the next cycle of elections, so that we'll have a government of Gambian people choice, government that will be accountable. I was part of the government in 2016, and Alhamdulillah, as part of that government, part of that cabinet, we ensured, because we had a vision, and we had objectives. What we fought against for 22 years, we believe that must continue. We must make sure that does not exist in the Gambia. Wastage, unnecessary expenditure. I think the Minister of Finance that was coopted from my party did a lot to curb wasteful expenditure, to ensure that the Gambia's meager resources were directed to areas that are the priorities of the Gambian people. Came in with schemes that would save the Gambia $300 million for on motor vehicles, on petrol, lubricants, drivers, and so forth. $300 million. That is what our Mr. Sani came up with, and we agreed on it. But 2 months after, we backtracked because it was not going to be electorally favorable. It might affect chances of we the politicians of being elected to the positions that we are occupying. So we diverted our attention from the needs of ordinary people for what should be beneficial to ordinary people and directed our attention to ourselves, what would be beneficial to ourselves. That is what attention was directed to. And indeed, there are so Gambians here knew how hard our Mr. Sane worked as finance minister, how hard he worked on the donors conference in Brussels. For the first time in history of the Gambia, about $7.5 billion was pledged. And let me say that 2 days after the end of that conference, Mr. Sane and I, we traveled to Paris, and we are able to get at least 50 million euro to take back home so that we can invest it in our agricultural sector. Because an agrarian country, you need to develop the agricultural sector. That is what you need to do, so that the issue of food security, so that the issue of unemployment can be properly combated. But I guess I guess we were not in tune with the times. I guess our objectives of really serving in government are different. While others thought that Gambia should be first, others thought that maybe those in positions, those in power, should really be first. And we have seen how, since we left, corruption has been skyrocketing. When we left, how the prices of commodities have been skyrocketing. We see how government has become negligent, how government has become negligent, how government has become, indifferent to the suffering of the ordinary people. How can people live for more than 12 hours without electricity supply? How does any country really progress and prosper when the basics are not available? Electricity supply, even water. 4 a.m., our sisters, aunts, and mothers in certain parts of the greater Banjul area have to go out queuing to really get water. That's a basic commodity. That's something so basic. In fact, water should not be an issue in the Gambia. Just even the surface water and the underground water is so abundant that water should not really be an issue with people of the Gambia. Internet services are not guaranteed. So how do you expect in today's world, where technological advancement is what people rely on, how can we ignore those things? And these are some of the things that we think really should be addressed. That is why from our manifesto, we came out with a 5-point agenda. And that 5-point agenda, the most important and significant one is that the human capital, we have to develop the human capital so that the Gambia can become a capable state, so that the Gambia can start rising from a least developed nation to a mid-income nation. Cape Verde came to the Gambia to understudy tourism, management of tourism, promotion of tourism. But today, Cape Verde is one of the leading tourist destinations in Africa. It has surpassed Gambia. It has moved on from a least developed country, from a low-income country to a mid-income country, and now they want to advance from mid-income to upper income. When Gambia we are still struggling, really going back and forward in our position as a least developed country. So we prioritize agriculture, but that is backbone of the Gambia. That we have abundant land. The Jahan Pacha or Gambian, every Gambian here knows Jahan Pacha. Those who do not live in flooding but have heard about Jahan Pacha. And I'm sure there are many Gambians here who have traveled up to Basse and have really seen Jahan Pacha. It can feed the nation. In fact, the whole of CRR, if proper attention is paid to it and proper investment is done in it, you can really feed the whole of the Gambia and in fact even export rice. We have And we have men who have the knowledge. But then I do not think we have the political commitment. And that political commitment is what UDP brings to the Gambian people. We do not believe that what my good former friend, Yaya Jammeh, just building up structures without really putting in the facilities in those structures. We don't think that's a good idea. I really hailed him for really building schools. We have the structures, but we do not have the trained teachers who would build those schools. Yes, we had the Kanilai, or the Buyang Hospital, good hospital, good building. We have Frafenye, good building, but we do not have the medical personnel. We do not have the equipment in those hospitals. And we believe that you could really properly equip Frafenye district hospital. And then the others can be, major health centers that can give the local services. I hope that the story I hear about China providing us 28 million to build a hospital or some say clinic, I only hope that what was announced by the president, that will be the situation, it will be situated at the official residence of the president. I hope that does not happen. We hope that there's a rethink, because $28 million that can really provide good facilities. And I hope, and if I go back home, I'm going to make that call on the president, that $28 million, let us use it to look at the medical facilities in the North Bank region, SL, and Farafenye District Hospital. Get them properly equipped. Get the good personnel, medical personnel there. Can you imagine a woman goes into labor in SL or even in Bara, and the ferry closes? Can you imagine? And she is in a situation, very critical situation, needing to see a gynecologist, and you do not have any gynecologist in SL. Is it not wise that you use that $28 million to put those medical facilities in conditions that will be of advantage and be of more use to the people in those areas than putting it in status or even in the Greater Banjul area? Because you have the Sarakunda Hospital, you have the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, and you have several other private medical outfits. Medicare, Dr. Jazz Hospital, Dr. Boyd Hospital, all these clinics with expert talents and equipment. So you need to go out to those people who do not have access to those facilities. You do not concentrate these things in one area. And I hope that the president will really divert or direct the diversion of those funds to the rural North Bank region of the Gambia. And when I say rural North Bank, I do not mean Nyomis and the Badbus. In the entire North Bank region from Bara to Pasamas, so that people in those areas also can have access to reliable medical services. These are some of the things that we think should be done. Sometimes we differ with our friends on the other side on how we prioritize things. Maybe we have been in this thing for quite a long time, telling government this is what you must do, so we tend to see what are the better priorities of the Gambian people than those who are really in government. And let me say, without demeaning anybody, without being demeaning, today, my recollection is right. Honorable Ahmad Ba is the only one who has been in the struggle with us. He is the only one who has been in the struggle with us and an incumbent. None of the others have been in the struggle with us. So they may not see what we saw whilst we were in the struggle. They will see things differently. They will see things from a technocrat's point of view. But we, I believe at Ahmad Ba, we are seeing these things from the lenses of the other people of the Gambia whom we went out to reach and whom we spoke to, so that the country can be rescued from the clutches of former President Yahya Jammeh. And I hope that those who are there, they will listen to those who were in the struggle. I hope that they will listen to the leaders of DOE. I hope they will listen to GDC. I hope they will listen to UDP, because we were there. We know how these things were. We knew what needed to be ratified. And then, if they do listen for us, it's certainly nothing that will detract from their own ability to do things. And I must say that when we produce our 5-point agenda, one of the things that we advocated was that the university students should have loans. We will provide loan facilities for them. And I'm happy that the current Minister for Higher Education has really embraced that idea. So when we talk and you listen to us and you find that what we are saying makes sense, please do the way you embrace it. The madrasas, I think that you should not believe in these people idly. They should be integrated into the mainstream educational system of the country. And again, the ministry is embracing. We are happy that it's an idea coming from us, or it's an idea that we spoke about. It could have been an idea that some other people thought about, but they have not said it. But we said it publicly, and then we now see it being embraced. You know? Let me say that. Mr. Chairman, say that it's now becoming too political. So I'm now becoming too political. So let me say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be with you and to really interact with you. And again, let me reiterate that it's been a wonderful evening for me, particularly seeing Tanta Aida here. That really gratifies me. Thank you very much.